Mike, thank you for joining us today. Coming away from the New York Summit, what are the most important highlights that we can share with investors that were unable to meet with you at this event?
Well, I think the biggest thing to understand about FormFactor is we've got a bit of a different business model than maybe the capital equipment companies do. We often get associated with capital equipment spend and wafer fab equipment spend, but our demand drivers are a little bit different than those. Our third quarter and our fourth quarter guidance, a good example of that, where our largest customer continues to release new designs on their 14 nanometer node. That drives a consumable spend for us and is one of the reasons why we've delivered pretty strong results here in the second half of 2018 when wafer fab equipment spending is down a little bit. So I think the key thing to think about FormFactor and the highlights that some investors are now understanding is we're really a broad-based consumable supplier in our probe card business, leading in those markets and generating demand that's a little bit different from fundamental wafer fab equipment spend.
What don't investors appreciate that you want them to know about FormFactor?
Yeah, I think when people think about FormFactor, many of them still recognize us as a pure play DRAM supplier. If I go back to the early part of this decade, FormFactor's business was really driven by DRAM expansion, DRAM spending. But with the acquisition of Microprobe in 2012 and Cascade Microtech in 2016, we've broadly diversified our business, growing the businesses we've acquired, deriving both product and cost synergies out of them, and we're a much broader based supplier than the FormFactor many people still remember from the early part of the decade.
Now, without asking your view on the cycle, why is now a good time for investors to own FormFactor?
Yeah, I think it keys off the first 2 points we talked about. The first is, inside our served markets, about $1.5 billion of spend by our customers. We're the leading share provider, and we've managed, even in that leadership share position, to continue to gain market share. I think the fundamental reason for that is expanding our relationships and the dependence that the key customers in the industry have on FormFactor's technologies. If you think about their ability to drive their product roadmaps forward, there's a very close coupling between our technical teams and our key customers' design teams. And I think that's only going to continue as Moore's Law gets more difficult, as advanced packaging continues to be adopted. There's more that the key customers need from us. And as really the only supplier with significant scale and resources to keep pace with them, I see a pretty strong future for us continuing to gain share ahead, regardless of the cycle.
Mike, I want to thank you for your time and insights today.
Thanks very much for having me.